On to Tech Central now, and members of parliament want the Inspector General of Police and mobile phone service providers to launch investigations into cons who are registering phone numbers in their names and sending explicit photos. On Tuesday, lawmakers narrated how they had become prime targets of cyber bullies. Among those who narrated their deals in the hands of bullies were Majority Leader Eden Duale, Kiminini, Member of Parliament Chris Wamalo, and Muranga County Woman Representative Sabina Chege.
They said individuals have been registering mobile phone numbers in our names, and thereafter using those numbers to solicit for funds from unsuspecting members and also to write other suspicious messages.
There is also, Mr. Speaker, a lady who has the telephone number of all the male members of Parliament in the 11th Parliament and in this 12th Parliament. She posts all the most obscene photos and sent to members of Parliament.
Nowadays, Mr. Speaker, when I'm opening up my phone, I have to hide somewhere so that people who are there, they should not see. Someone might think, Mr. Speaker, you know there's suspicious people who are sending you these photos, Mr. Speaker.
A situation arises where you are at home and you give a child your phone to play with, Mr. Speaker, your son, to play games, to play certain other things with your phone, Mr. Speaker. And that message just comes in, ting, ting, Mr. Speaker.
If you have a husband whose shock absorbers are weak, yes, you may get divorced.
So it may be a laughing matter to some, but it certainly is not a laughing matter to others. Cyberbullying is real. Now, to have that conversation here in studio, let me introduce the panel that we have. And we have, to my immediate left, Evelyn Kasina, who's the founder of Evminet Communications. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having
me. We
us.
also have Thomas Omweri, who's a software engineer. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mike.
Let's start with a simple definition of cyberbullying, because with what some of those members of parliament were saying, they receive nudies, as they're known now, pictures of nude pictures. Does that come under cyberbullying? Let me start with you, Thomas.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mike, for inviting me once again. It's always a pleasure to be on this show. And I remember the last time we were here speaking about cybersecurity, we said when you use electronic media to commit some crime, then that's cybersecurity. Today, when we are discussing cyberbullying, that's only an aspect of cybersecurity. And it could be as simple as, again, using electronic media to harass someone, to threaten them, or to humiliate someone. And in this particular case, where members of parliament are lamenting something that looks like a laughing matter, but it's not, because many Kenyans are suffering. It's only that maybe this time the target was the most unlikely, that is the honorable members.
Okay.
And probably later in this show, we shall be dealing about the legislation that governs this area, and the onus is upon the members of parliament, now that they've been victims of the same situation, to stand up and speak for Kenyans so that they can fast-track the passage of that bill, so that we can at least avert these latest trends.
Evelyn, do you agree that that is part of cyberbullying, receiving pictures on your phone? And how do we know, at what point does cyberbullying start? Because majority of some of these pictures that are sent out, sometimes some are innocent, others are cordial. I mean, there is that communication between the two parties. So at what point does it become cyberbullying?
I think from the onset of you sending an image or a text to someone that makes them feel either harassed, embarrassed, or you're defaming them, I think that's where you start drawing the line of cyberbullying. Yeah, because sometimes it can just be an innocent joke, but when it starts extending to the fact that now even other people around you are getting, nervous, then that's infringement.
That's infringement of your privacy.
And it's got to be repeated. Even the bill clarifies that it's got to be an action that it's sort of repeated. You're trying to push on and on, to pin someone to the wall in a way that doesn't.
So when it occurs just once in a while, or a random picture, would that come under cyberbullying?
There's really a thin line. It could still qualify to be cyberbullying, but given you have no control of what happens on social media, you might be able to post something and then you get some reactions from people who may not have liked what you posted. It may be an honest opinion from that people, which was maybe accidental or they were just careless, but when it goes to the next level of, making it repeated, making that communication repeated in a manner that is going to be detrimental, then that's on another level. Yeah, so it's easier to prosecute such a case.
Now, from what we've seen from the members of parliament, at that point in time, I don't know whether then this would qualify to be a softer end of cyberbullying, and I'm sure there are those cyberbullies who now literally are at a different level and a different extent. Evelyn, is this the softer end of cyberbullying? Is there a worse version of cyberbullying?
Yes, actually, it might not be really soft because they've just given us the cream. It could be a fact that they're being extorted, because you had Sabina say that some of them are asking for money. So if it gets to a level where people are being extorted or you're being harassed to a point where you even want to, your self-esteem goes down, you want to even commit suicide, then that gets to a very high level. And I think from the article I read, they were just giving us a few tips. Because if it's going to get to a level where your spouse or your partner feels that this is going out of hand and to a point of divorce, then, that is not soft at all.
Okay, but maybe just to mention, and especially for now, those who possibly have not undergone cyberbullying, or maybe just to understand fully what is cyberbullying, because there are different social media platforms. I guess what they were talking about here is probably WhatsApp, because it's on their phone, but there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's all sorts of, what areas can one be cyberbullied?
Maybe
first and foremost, there are different types of cyberbullying. There is trolling, there is cyber stalking, and now just the infringement of your personal privacy. I think those three levels, people need to understand the three levels of,
Take us through the three levels.
You've talked
about trolling.
Trolling is where, if you're playing games and you start becoming a bit aggressive towards each other, because, in a gaming situation, it's the person who wants to win. It's a level of, I want to be better than the other person. Then it becomes a bit violent, it becomes something else. The fundamentals of the game lose its meaning.
They change.
Then cyber stalking, it's basically the way I would stalk you physically, but I've just taken that platform online, and where I'm just getting into your space, getting your information. I will twist it a bit, I will come up with my own narratives. So I will start bullying you out of stalking. So there are different narratives of cyberbullying. So when it comes to that, people need to understand, is this friendly, is this not friendly, and how can I then go about what is happening to me on different social media platforms?
All right. Mike, as a case in point, just to show you how serious it can get to, just recently it was reported that a young lady who was so promising threw herself into an oncoming traffic just because she had been apparently cyberbullied on Facebook. Probably people on those groups like Buyer Beware, which are very common, Kilimani Moms, such groups, very notoriously known for careless comments, which may end up tragic. There's also another popular game that was banned recently, the Blue Whales or something. Something she spoke about, that the intent of that game changes and ends up tragic. So it's that serious, and it's about time we rose up and looked for means of really curbing this vice.
What recourse is there? And maybe let's start with earlier on, we're looking at security, and we're saying, like the president once said, security begins with you. And I imagine with cyberbullying, it could also be the same case.
Exactly.
What measures do I need to take in place for, especially if I notice that somebody is beginning to go beyond the line?
I think at the moment, one of the only things you can do is to report it to the police, because the Communication and Information Act only gives information, and they do not investigate, because that is not a mandate for that institution. However, they come up with information. Like, so if you're being bullied by someone, and obviously that person has pseudoed themselves, you're not able as an individual to know it's Evelyn who was bullying you. So if you go to these institutions, you're able to be told the pseudo was coming from such and such an account, then they can get these people. And then now they will push that process to the police for investigation and,
Okay.
And true to what you said, security begins with me and you. And when we are using social media platforms, some of these platforms have put in place features that can at least enable us to be safe while we are using them. There are features like, you can even block someone whom you think is infringing into your rights, and probably you would have averted more damage. You could report those abusers. But that may not be enough, because sometimes people are so persistent and determined. And as Evelyn said, government may have institutions that are charged with that responsibility, like Communication Authority of Kenya, and as she well put it, they may not have the full mandate to investigate these incidences. They do have a national computer incident response team, but its role is largely advisory. You could report to them, and then they may end up even referring you to the police, which is the official investigation body. And as we said last time, these government agencies may not have enough capacity to investigate these cases, in which case then they'll have to partner with even the private sector, private consultants like myself and Eve. But those are just some of the things you need to do. But most importantly, when I said that it begins with me and yourself, let us again play caution. Mike, when you are interacting on social media, you know, most of the people are careless, such careless that they can post everything about their life so that people know everything about you, and if ever they were interested in tracking you down, they'll find you. So something we could maybe learn from the late great scientist Stephen Hawking. Sometimes the quiet people have the brightest minds or the loudest minds. So I'm not like restraining anyone from enjoying their social media space, but you would probably come to understand the sense in all this when you become a victim.
All right,
so
and Evelyn, maybe, because I know you're passionate about children and the youngsters, what are some of those precautionary measures that one should take? I think you bring in an important point there, that be careful what you post, because really it is your life, and then there's a footprint. It never is forgotten. And sometimes we are in this space, if we are now having a chat in a group with the two of you, I imagine it's just the three of us. So whatever information I give you, I imagine it's between the three of us. However, that may not be the case. So what are some of those precautionary measures I should take to ensure that I'm not giving out too much to the whole world?
I think one of the things that I do is train on digital citizenship, where we need ourselves to understand that whatever it is I do in my physical life, I should portray it online. So if I don't want people to know too much of my information, why should I be posting it online? I need to act the same way physically as I am acting online. And we all need to have digital, intelligence in such a way that if I'm posting something, then if it is taken by people in the wrong way, because, part of cyberbullying is possibly people critiquing you because they may not really understand or be in line with your views. So it is, there are certain things that I need to do. There's a certain language that I need to portray online. So for the kids anyway, for them, they were born in this digital ecosystem. So it's up to us adults to train them on what to do online and what not to do online, because it's not something that they know. They've just found themselves with this technology, and it's probably sometimes very overwhelming for them.
Absolutely, and they may not even know where to draw the line.
Interesting question, Mike, about the children, because they have no control, really. They don't know what's going on around unless we guide them in a manner that's going to define their destiny. And that's why, again, we need to be even much more sensitive when it comes to matters children. And for argument's sake, you may remember that recently our good friend, Honorable Boni Aluale, posted a pic of him and his granddaughter while he was attending to her in hospital. And you should have seen how some of the netizens were angered about that pic, because some of those people thought he probably should have concealed the identity of that young child, so that he does not have to expose her too much. So we need to be cautious in all that we do, because you do not have control. Once you click that enter button, you do not have control what happens
And
afterwards.
I think it is important for adults to actually read the bylaws and the information around the internet, and where to draw the line, the bills that are, the bill that is currently in Parliament. We need to know, because your kids will do what you do. So it's monkey see, monkey do. So if they see that I'm doing certain things online, I'm speaking in a certain way, they will not know any better. So it's up to us first to understand what are the fundamentals behind all this and how do we caution ourselves around it.
Okay, and I think it would be important also to mention legislation, because now when it comes to cyberbullying, once I go to the police station, normally, let's take an example and say if I was physically abused, it's clear what the law says about that. There's evidence, and I can even show them evidence. But now with cyberbullying, that's a whole different story. Do the police, and is there a structure within the enforcement agencies that now has a structured way of dealing with cyberbullying, because it's really neither here nor there. They may even look at it as you're just being a sissy.
I know. So when it comes to legislation, again, as we said earlier, it's not complete yet. That bill really spells out hefty penalties. But before you even get there, there are those standard practices. Like if you've been cyberbullied, you've got to present that digital evidence. In forensics, computer forensics, you have to present some kind of evidence that is obviously admissible even before a court of law. And when you asked about some of the do's and don'ts when you are using social media platforms, if you feel like you've been cyberbullied, one of the most important things to do if you intend to take it to the next level is never to delete that message or picture that you were sent to, because that will form part of the evidence. And then the government agencies will also have to partner with some of these service providers like Facebook for them to provide them with, if you will, classic information so as to track the perpetrators.
All right, Evelyn, cyberbullying, of course, has an element of cybersecurity. How safe are we online?
We are not safe.
We're not safe at all.
No. Everybody is exposed.
What
online.
about all that bananas of encryption? You know, my what's it called? WhatsApp is encrypted to you, and therefore when I'm communicating with you, it's just the two of us. It's just.
But how many people actually do take those precautions? Not very many. I mean, out of 10 people, only probably one person does that. Not very many people actually even know that there's like a layer 2 factor of logging in. And what is very common actually, even right now, we'll ask you if you've logged out of your Facebook. You just put on data and then you start seeing notifications. That means if I was to just get into your email, then I will get into everything else. I'll get into your social media platforms, your M-banking, everything else.
And the logins are cached on
because
the
everything
browser.
on your phone is literally logged in. So if, I mean, unless you're off internet, when you get on the internet, things just come popping in and out. So
is there a way that I can still stay logged in, but encrypted? And I'm using encrypted because I don't know
that's such a wonderful response from Eve. You know, this technology may be in place, Mike, but what action are we taking towards, you know, taking advantage or leverage of the available technology? There could be two-factor authentication. There is that report abuse feature, and so on and so forth. But how informed are we? Do we even use those kind of stuff? Recently, a friend of mine, you know, lost a phone and his bank account was hacked into, probably because the password was weak or something. So that also boils down to how active or how updated we are to the ongoings around us. Whenever these technologies are updated, let us also get to move to the next level so that we do not lag behind. They could be in place, but if we are not proactive ourselves, then we'll remain there lamenting all the time.
Evelyn, we need to wind up shortly, but before we do that, those layers of security that you're talking about, these phones have become literally our lives, in that it has your bank account, it has your details of your family, has details of your address, literally has everything. Your utility bills, everything is on your phone.
Your Google Maps is on.
Your Google Maps is on, such that you can tell exactly where I went, where I live, where I work. How do I ensure that, God forbid, but if I lost my phone, I do not lose everything else with it? Okay,
so I have software that if, for instance, you lost your phone today, you can log in into another platform and just wipe out your phone from a remote area. And obviously, if someone was now to try and get into your social media account, your bank account, you have to get a notification to authorize login.
And that would be like second layer security.
So I mean, you can see me. I can give you software. But however, I think just getting to understand what it means to have your online platforms logged in at all the time. I mean, awareness. What is it that we say that? I forget the needy.
Maybe, I know sometimes not really that we are lazy, but we do not want to go through much hassle, you know, having to log in every other time you access your accounts. If it's your social media platforms, you have it logged already on your computer.
And you leave it logged
anytime
throughout.
You don't have to log out when you finish your emails, even on your phone. And that's really risky. Sometimes it's important to go through that extra hassle as long as you are sure you are secure. If someone today stole your phone and you are logged into your accounts, Facebook, Twitter, and even emails, then they can probably get access to your private information, which wouldn't have otherwise happened if you hadn't.
I was actually going to say ignorance is very expensive.
It is.
We are very lazy. I mean, we just don't like reading. It's next, finish, moving on swiftly.
Right.
Someone tells you there's this app that has come that has ABCD, and you don't even get to know how many people have actually installed this app, the ratings. I mean, if it's on Google, is it secure? Because even just the other day, I think 2 months ago, Google pulled down actually almost 60 apps that had pornography in them. But even the owners of the apps didn't know. Yeah. So, I mean, if you have those apps, and just the way one of the parliamentary people said that your child is playing games and porn starts coming, I mean, that is very offensive, because that, again, is child pornography.
Yeah, absolutely. So. All right, we need to wind up. Your closing comments and possibly nuggets, especially in regards to cybersecurity, what you'd advise?
First of all, I plead to viewers to be proactive in terms of technology. Things may not really be as sweet as they appear. Take precaution. And then I would really like to call upon the members of parliament, now that they've been hit under the belt, to move with speed, close ranks, and fast track the passage of that bill so that we can be able to help a lot of people who are suffering out there. A stitch in time saves 9.
Evelyn, your closing remarks?
I think for me, I'll say that freedom of speech is obviously something that is embedded in the Constitution. However, people need to refrain themselves from defamation. Yeah. So we need to actually be digital citizens and apply that to everything that we do online.
All right. Thank you very much, Evelyn Kasina, founder of Evenet Communications, and Thomas Omweri, who's a software engineer, for, well, enlightening us on cybersecurity and also cyberbullying, which has become a big thing. And I think also as a note, it's just to note that your youngsters could be online, they could be cyberbullied very easily, and you just need to take precautions to ensure that they're not. For now, we're going to take a short break. This is Morning Express. We'll be right back with stories that are making headlines. Do stay with us.